Hiya friends, Prepared Suburbanite here. Well, it's Saturday morning, the 16th of September. Been attending to seasonal chores all morning. Earlier this week I had to tackle a tree that deadfall that fell down in the yard next door, and it's been sitting there for probably a year now, and it's pretty well dried out. Terrible for firewood, so it wouldn't be any good for that, but it just got in the way. It's very ugly, lots of dead branches kicking around, so I spent pretty much half a day yesterday cleaning all that up, bucking up the branches, bucking up the logs, and finally got it so it's at least somewhat manageable. In between all those branches, the local Japanese stilt grass decided to grow up through it, and it was probably 3.5 or 4 feet tall for this one whole growing season, so I had to cut all that stuff down so that I could get the mower in there and start mowing some of the stuff down. But anyway, got all that done. Earlier this week, just a couple of highlights from around here, found out my wife has to have some gum surgery down in here to repair some gum damage that she's got there, and so that'll be happening towards the end of the month. And last week I lost my bridge that connects the lower part of my lower teeth down here. It just kind of fell out, and not quite sure exactly what happened, but the tooth that it was anchored to is cracked in half and needs to be extracted. So I get to do that next Wednesday, and so I probably won't be doing very much videotaping next week. But while I was doing seasonal chores today, I was thinking about a conversation that my wife had with a person sort of close to us, but not really. She's about 50, and the conversation got around to politics in a kind of a roundabout way. And we know that she's extraordinarily liberal, if not a full-blown leftist, and her comment was, yeah, the conservatives, you know, it's their way or the highway. And I've been thinking about that ever since my wife briefed me on that conversation, and I want to share some thoughts about that. So I really wasn't quite sure from where she was coming from with that comment that it's either the conservatives' way or the highway. And I think it may have been Democrats versus Republicans, Republicans versus Democrats, left versus right, conservatives versus progressives. So it depends on where you want to draw the line between the demarcation lines here. But I got thinking about that and trying to figure out now what would make her say something like that. Now, she's definitely very liberal in her thinking, and I really couldn't put my finger on it. And tell me if I'm right or tell me if I'm wrong on this one. But I think what she's seeing, and I can't think like somebody on the left, it just doesn't work for me. But what I think she was trying to say is that she is for abortion, and conservatives are against abortion. So they're trying to pass all these laws and do whatever regulations they can do, and put doctors in jail and all that. So it's their way or the highway on that particular issue. Don't know how she feels about Drag Queen Story Hour. Don't know how she feels about gender transitions, what they're teaching our kids in first and second grade about a boy isn't always blue, and good Lord. But what I do see going on there is the left wants all this stuff to happen. They want children to be indoctrinated about deviant sexual preferences, and drag queen story hours, and the abortion issue, like I mentioned before. And that's what the left wants. And the conservatives and the right are saying, no, wait a minute. There's got to be some basic stuff here called morality. And if you take it too far, we're going to push back. And that's what I think her feelings are based on, that whatever it is that the left wants to do, and we don't think it's a good idea for them to do it, or for a good idea for it to be taught in church, or if it's a good idea to be talking about racism in the same way that they look at it, then we're the bad guys, because it's our way or the highway, and we just won't let them be to go live their lives the way they want to live their lives, and what I would consider somewhat dangerous and deviant behavior. And secondary to that is the thought that she couldn't see the irony in her statement. From a conservative's perspective, what we see is they won't leave well enough alone. It's their way or the highway. So it's kind of reversed around when you look at it from an informed perspective. Looking at what they've done to Donald Trump. They impeached him twice. Thankfully, the Senate didn't convict him. But he's been impeached twice. He's been indicted 4 times, somewhere over 90 charges, felony level charges. And he's running for president against the incumbent, Joe Biden. And they don't see that that is very representative of it's their way or the highway. If they don't like Donald Trump, they have gone all out to make sure that he is besmirched, impeached, arrested, arraigned, put in jail, mugshots, you name it. They think that's perfectly okay to do that kind of stuff. But, oh man, have a conservative say, hey, you shouldn't be teaching first graders how to have weird homosexual relationships. Gee, I wonder who is really pushing whose buttons here. I don't know the answer to this kind of a question, but I think when it hits us in the face, when we're in a conversation with somebody and they do something stupid like that, they say something stupid like that, then we've got to come back at them. We've got to be well armed with data, with facts, with information that's irrefutable, so that we can hit back. She was perfectly happy saying, oh yeah, the conservatives, it's always their way or the highway. And she hasn't thought past this, the end of her nose, on the irony perspective and on the morality perspective. I don't know, but I think we need to be well armed with our facts, with our data, to challenge the very weird lefty thinking that's going on in our country right now, and it's tearing us apart with immigration issues, with the inflation issues, you name it. We are heading for some very uncertain times, and as a prepper and part of the prepper community around here, I've got to urge everybody to take the time, inventory what you've got, try to figure out what you're going to need, and get it now, because if you wait, it's going to be even more expensive. Just looking at the producer price index just the other day, after the CPI came out, the PPI, which is an indicator of what's to come, it's the inflation realization that producers, those people that produce goods and services, what they're paying for the raw materials that they use to manufacture stuff, to provide services for. That's going up too. And when you look at what's going to happen, and it's going to go just like this. So inflation is not resolved. The Inflation Reduction Act did absolutely nothing to fix it. In fact, I think it's going to make it worse over time. So if you're halfway inclined to being ready for what's coming, I urge you to get prepared. Make sure you've got enough food and enough water and enough way to filter that water, and make sure that it's potable, and you've got home defense, and you've got security for your property, your family, and yourself. So we're just biding time right now. I think there's an irony in that too. This is the Prepared Suburbanite, reminding you to be prepared always. And I'll see you all on the next video.